everybody, John Ramdeen, Cody Saftik here on Fight Network's Downtown Studios. UFC on Fox went down Saturday night. Former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski was in action taking on Francis Ngannou, who stopped the Affliction Elite XC striker. This guy's fought all over the place, but man, oh man, it was very, very sad to see because it feels like it is an end of an era when you look back at what happened to BJ Penn and some of these legends of mixed martial arts. You feel that the time has come and it really will be the changing of the guard sooner than rather than later.
Yeah. I think if you look at a lot of number examples, and not even guys that are done, but when you look at fighters that have careers spanning 10 plus years, maybe there's just something missing with a lot of them. Maybe that next up-and-comer is the guy to go. You mentioned BJ Penn and Andrei Arlovski. We saw Nate Marquardt on this same very card. We see a Dominic Cruz lose the title to Cody Garbrandt. We saw Mike Pyle likely end his career. Even in Toronto, Anthony Pettis, who does have a 10-year-long career, losing to a guy like Max Holloway. Certainly, Robin talks about this all the time. There's that future generation. That's not to say 10-year-plus vets can't still win.
Of course.
But there is a bit of that changing of the guard. And Francis Ngannou, when you look at his age and you look at his skills, he's not ready to challenge for a title right now, but he's certainly someone that I thought it was fascinating to look at. Let's say you were to jump in a time machine, you jump 2 years in the future. In 2 years, Ngannou's still only 32 years old. In 2 years, Stipe Miocic is 36, and Overeem's 38, and Barnett's in his 40s, and Mark Khan's deep into his 40s, and Verdum's in his 40s. Cain Velasquez hardly ever fights, and he's late 30s.
Stefan Struve's still floating around there.
Stefan Struve, now if you look at the young guys in the division, Stefan Struve, who just got injured, pulled out of a fight, has a heart problem and maybe never really attained that top level to begin with. And then when you look at how Ngannou matches up with Stefan Struve, sign me up for some Francis Ngannou. Sky's the limit for this guy. And now finally he goes out there and he gets a fight that people recognize the opponent. People didn't understand the level of opposition that he was fighting. And so it's easy to say, he beat Bojan Mihalovic, he beat Luis Henrique da Silva, who's actually starting to get really good himself, but he's beating guys that I don't recognize. When they see him smash Arlovski, you take notice.
But is that true? Again, I was a believer that, all these guys with all this experience and a lifetime of martial arts abilities, they'll be able to have the details. Well, Andrei Arlovski didn't have those details, and Francis Ngannou has only spent the last 3 years training in martial arts. So is that what's happening? Because of those miles and because there's all these hacks where you can bypass getting all that information, you go in there with only 3 years of experience. Can you become a UFC champion with 5 years of training and fighting experience? That seems very strange to me when you consider a guy like Stipe or Alistair Overeem or Cain Velasquez or Fabrizio Verdum that spent their entire life honing the skills of wrestling or jiu-jitsu or Thai boxing, that a fighter can come in after only 5 years and make their way to the top of the mountain. Yeah,
but it's youth and athleticism, and it's just the way the game's developed. Rodriguez has been fighting certainly longer than 3 or 5 years, but if you look at him 3 or 5 years ago, not nearly as impressive as he is now. So when you look at BJ Penn, he has a wealth of experience in every single element that makes up mixed martial arts. BJ Penn is adequate or very, very good in each of those areas. But at the end of the day, he's just not fast enough, doesn't have the speed enough. The game simply has passed him by. Arlovski has a terrible disadvantage in this fight that not only does he have all this experience, give me all this experience at featherweight over a guy that's been training for 3 years and is different. He's a heavyweight. So one single mistake will allow one single punch to land, and one single punch. Brian Stanley made a point of showing the audience this guy's hands because of how large they are. If he hits you, he's going to put you down, and unfortunately, that's the game that Arlovski's playing. People talked about, will he go out there and search for the takedown? Maybe that was the game plan to choose, but we'll never know because it never happened. Is he still a relevant heavyweight? Of course, he'll always be around, but Ngannou's the real guy to keep your eye on. He's going to lose at some point. Don't think he's going to be some undefeated champion. He's going to face adversity. But I think it's huge to note that people think, the Cameroonian born, trains out of France, where are the D1 wrestlers working with him? Where are the high-level guys that are working with him? Very, very important to note that because he's a big star in France now, because they're taking notice of him, that he's got guys from the Olympic judo team coming in. He's got guys from the wrestling team coming in. France is known for their individual martial arts. Very, very, very good martial arts. Just not mixed martial arts because it's been banned for so long.
What happens, though, when he faces somebody that can pick him up and slam him on the ground? Will he be able to be the nail? We've seen fighters many times. They can be the hammer, but when it's time to take a beating, can they take it and come back and persevere? We have not seen that yet from Ngannou.
Fair enough, but once again, you look at his debut in the UFC, and I was one of the guys saying right away from his debut in the UFC, he's got trouble on the ground. If you look at his tape on the regional scene, it's not particularly good. So he takes on a Brazilian state wrestling champion. How good that is, it doesn't matter. He does get taken down. The guy's also a black belt. Henrique da Silva can't really get anything going on him. He keeps very calm. He has a good guard, keeps calm, eventually explodes, gets himself back up. In his next performance, it's the same thing. He takes on Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is a D2 or D3, but he's an All-American wrestler, very big guy, very athletic. He takes Ngannou down as well. Now, Sam Zakula, high-level black belt, good, very, very excellent coach. He's the one that pointed out to me right after the debut. It's not that this guy has a great jiu-jitsu game, like he's throwing up arm bars or he's throwing up triangles. It's that he's very calm, he has a good guard, you don't pass his
defensive
guard.
game.
And eventually he just gets up. Similar to a Derek Lewis, but a lot more refined, is that when he wants to get up, he can. But he waits for his moment, and then he gets up. When he does get up, he's made each and every single guy pay. And finally, Anthony Hamilton. Anthony Hamilton is another All-American wrestling guy, trains at Greg Jackson's, is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For you to grab a hold of this guy's arm, 3 years MMA training, how long has he been doing Jiu-Jitsu? I don't know, but to grab this guy's arm, spin him to the ground, and submit him almost effortlessly, it shows the rate that he's learning at, where his skills are at, and where his development's at. And I think it's a very promising future if you're Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, I wasn't sold on Ngannou, but you take the former heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski, and I'm going to tune in. But what does it mean for the former champion Andrei Arlovski? How many more years does he have left in mixed martial arts, and what will the UFC do with the former champion?